All right, this next poem is called The History Books. And we're getting ready to celebrate Native American Heritage Month, which is a beautiful month because ideally, nationwide, countrywide, classrooms, communities, social media, and media of all kinds will be generously and in a rich, informed, indigenous-led way sharing the true story, the true history, and the true beauty of America's natives people. Working, again, ideally, in this beautiful spirit to change the current perception of Native America, which is rooted in, everything that's happened in the last 500 years, which was, in a word, I want to say, like, anti-Native American. Thank goodness we're in somewhat different times now. But I decided to share this poem because it is kind of about all that. And America has historically not been too kind to the Indians, but we're now kind of living in these times where there is a really I want to say, like, supercharged, empowered, potent kind of awareness really threading through kind of everywhere via social media. And this kind of awareness is ready to upend the unjust. It's ready to rewrite the story, recode the landscape, reimagine the culture, and redesign this kind of collective space we are all, traveling forward with our families in. And I think this awareness, which you see just like schooling up the young in a way that the actual schools maybe never did, I think is ready to kick some ass, take some names, change the game, and rebuild the culture, re-engineer the culture, retool the culture so that it is built around, the radiant human values that are not only in the center of, indigenous cultures worldwide, indigenous cultures here on Turtle Island, but are in the center of the human heart. And these are the values of respect, the values of kindness, of generosity, of love and tolerance, of gratitude and appreciation, and a willingness to figure out how we can all work together, just like all of life works together for these common life loving, life supporting, life serving purposes that our deepest values are, all about. So the past 500 years have had some real hell present, but everyone marching down the streets today, whether those streets are the physical ones in our cities or the streets of that collective reality as it exists inside of our consciousness, everybody marching down the streets today is singing a song about how that does not have to be the case anymore, and that's not going to be the case anymore, and we're not going to allow that as individuals, as families, as communities, as counties, as tribes, as human beings. Death marches, genocide, annihilation, injustice as the status quo is no longer going to be accepted as the going way of this culture we're all living in. And maybe I should just jump into this poem and maybe wrap it up from there. This poem is called The History Books. I took the horse out and rode to where they'd impaled him on a fence post. His head was encased in a perfect sphere of cement. His body was destroyed and partly eaten. I got down from my horse, rubbed a few crumpled leaves of sage I'd had in my pocket on his cement head, and started praying some. This was the story of our removal. I wondered if they'd put this in the history books. And as we all know, they did not put that in the history books. They did not put what really happened in the history books. For fear of tainting the masses' understanding of the great illusion they were trying to sell everyone on, so that they could, in the meantime, in the meanwhile, steal their soul in the night. And we're living in an America today where the history books never told the story of what really happened. But like I said, we're also living in America today where there are millions of Indians and millions of non-Indian allies who are passionately telling the truth of what happened, and with the power of their passion and the power of their truth and the power of their story, they are healing that great twisted ignorance and misunderstanding that has been rooted so deeply into the American consciousness. And with things like a poem, things like a video, things like community talks, books, documentaries, movies, reservation dogs, that great twisted ignorance and misunderstanding is being uprooted. It's being removed. It's being replaced. It's being transformed, transfigured, remade into what it should have always been, and what we Native people have been carrying it as since the beginning. And that is, you know, a big, beautiful, truthful story that orients us in the cosmos, and orients us on Mother Earth, and orients us right where we're standing today in a way that allows us to be a part of all the harmonious happenings of life, so that we're in the right groove with it, you know, so that we're like a little line of poetry running across town, hoping to make it to the big poem that's assembling, to jump in and slide right into the right place, so that we are vibrating with the big, beautiful, coherent essence that's holding everything together. The story that we share with our relatives and the story that we tell about ourselves should be rooted in, should be radically rooted in the deepest, most expansive, most enlightened truth like that. And it should result in, you know, that type of existence. So the poem I shared today, I share in the name of that kind of living, which is the opposite of anti-Native American, and is actually Indigenous living. So happy Native American Heritage Month, relatives, almost. And hell yeah to whatever kind of good, true Indigenous living you got going on today.